Hi, welcome to the topics. I'm Adrian Stewart, and joining us today, who's been missing for a while actually, is Jay Bunnag and Valerie McKenzie.
Hi there.
Jay, you've been ill.
I have. I had influenza A, which I contracted. I don't know how, but I got it. Probably off, maybe off you.
You're the culprit.
And I was out of action for about 10 days. I was in quarantine for 5 days, and I was quite sick. Actually, it was quite unpleasant.
So it really knocks you around, huh?
Really knocked you around. Then I was in Dubai for a while, attending the ITU conference. I did an MC job for the Thailand's Information Technology Ministry. Yes.
All right, let's dive into our normal
That's our
routine.
public service announcement over.
Yeah. It's over. So as we did the last few episodes, we actually follow up on interesting topics and you know that we covered in the previous episode, right? Examples. We'll start off with the futsal thing. The futsal thing, as we mentioned the last time, it's being held November 4th, right?
November 1st.
November 1st?
To the 18th.
And the stadium is not ready, and the governor of Bangkok has now actually said he will take full responsibility for it, and apparently he even spent the night there to make sure that, you know, people were working round the clock for it, you know?
Okay.
So this stadium is actually being built right like 40 kilometers away from the city center.
Where is the stadium? I thought it was on Bunnag.
Now it's in Nong Chok district, which is almost in Minbury, actually.
Okay,
Right.
so it's not that far away, is it?
Yeah, so there were reports that the construction normally of such a stadium of such a size would take 500 days, but this is being done in less time, 270 days.
We won this event some time ago, not only a year ago. So the question is, why didn't we actually start earlier? I mean, I know there was flooding last year, which was something that everybody says, well, we couldn't go ahead with this plan because there was flooding.
Yeah, trust me, because I've just built something, and last year we were wiped out for 3 months, and then in December, January, February, there was quite a big shortage of building materials, the right building materials that you need, and also there is a labour shortage in construction, and also a lot of the big contractors are trying to catch up on themselves. And the labourers that are here are moving around from project to project, project site to project site. So even though, okay, so according to the story, they said that it would take normally 500 days, so a year and a half, basically, to finish something like this, plus, because everything is always delayed anyway when you do construction. But they've been trying to do it in 270 days, which, as we know, is 100 days short of a year.
Is it really safe?
So they've got their backs to the wall.
Yeah.
It's probably not about safety. It's just about having enough people to lay bricks and pour concrete and do stuff.
But you know, what amazes me is, like, we were told that absolutely no way it can be complete. And yet the governor comes out yet again and makes a statement that it's going to be complete. It should have been completed this coming Sunday, but it'll be Monday it's completed.
Yeah, okay, so even if it's completed,
it's not possible.
but it's not going to be used for the opening ceremony. Right?
Well,
the games are going to be
maybe.
held.
I
in this
You've seen the pictures of the stadium. Okay.
Impossible.
It doesn't look like it's going to be ready for another 3 months.
But you know, having said that,
I mean, the best thing is we just get over it. Okay, it's a white elephant.
Yep, exactly.
What's the backup plan? And just concentrate on that. I mean, there's, you know, maybe it's going to be ready for closing ceremony, I would say.
But you know, I agree with Jay. We need to move on, because what's happening is that the embassies, who are actually expecting their players to come in very soon. In
17 countries.
Yeah, but you know, Australia already is actually doing their own publicity to promote to go and watch those games. So I think we've just got to get over the problem.
Oh yeah, they definitely need to say, okay, what's the backup? What's the genuine backup plan?
Exactly.
Let's take a knock to the face and say, okay, we're not going to be ready. We're going to have the opening ceremony. Where is it? It's
somewhere
going to be
where do they say?
Huamark.
Yeah.
Okay, fine. So set up the stadium for Huamark. Set up a couple more stadiums.
We've got options.
Do it. Just get it done.
And let's get out there and showcase what we can do, and support all those teams that come to
Has the PR improved? You know,
they haven't got
Jay
PR
just
yet.
found out about it 2 weeks ago.
No, I mean, I only really found out about it. I mean, I'm not really in the futsal community, so I don't know. But I only found out about it because there were stories about the stadium being behind schedule. And if the BMA were taking responsibility for getting the stadium right, obviously they want to do the best they can, and yeah, I don't know, it's a bit of a mess.
Let's hope it won't be an embarrassment for Thailand.
But you know, I work with the Asian games.
Once the games start, people just enjoy the futsal.
Just follow the futsal.
Yeah.
And you know, I don't know that. I think the other thing we've got to make clear is that I don't know that it has a huge following in Thailand. I mean, huge in comparison to other sports. So that might also be the reason why people aren't saying, wow, this is a great event coming to Thailand, you know?
But look at the number of futsal stadiums around.
Well, there's so many, exactly.
There must be a huge following. If you've got the Futsal World Cup coming to town, I mean, it must be, things must be selling out, for sure, you would have thought.
Yeah. Not sure.
Not sure.
Not sure.
Not sure. I don't know where to get tickets.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe you just
anyway, hopefully we've got a week to go. Or, no, actually we've got a couple of days to go.
Yeah.
So the reality is we need to get some communication out there about how do we get tickets.
Yeah. So if anyone knows how to get tickets, let us know so we'll communicate it. Okay. The U.S. presidential elections.
There's an election?
Yeah. Obama's term is up. He's done 4 years, right?
Yes,
when is it? When is the election day?
November 4th?
4th of November.
Wow, that's really soon.
It's very soon. Yeah. Right. They've just had their last debate, the third debate, and it's an area we discussed last week.
The first debate, Obama didn't do very well.
Didn't perform well.
They said he was asleep, right?
Third, yeah.
The second he was a bit better. The third one, I think he outperformed Romney. But it's like we talked about last week, you know, the whole issue on foreign policy is important to all of us here in Thailand and around the globe. The problem is that that's not going to be the issue in the States for the people that
exactly.
are actually wanting to elect.
The people who are voting don't care.
We've had Clinton, Bush, Obama.
Yeah.
What's really changed in those three?
I think
that's Democrat, Republican, Democrat. So what, has anything changed in the middle bit, in the meat of the sandwich?
I don't believe so.
Yeah.
So why would
in terms of foreign policy? Right?
Towards Thailand.
I don't think anything has changed.
So why is it an issue?
Yeah, in
whoever
fact,
wins,
the U.S. ambassador to Thailand came out and said there will be no change in
but that's a load of rubbish, really. I mean, it's absolutely. They're not going to go with the same policies. And on foreign policy,
how does it affect us, though?
Well, it does affect us. Say, for example, if Romney actually still believes that he needs to take severe action against Iran because of them pursuing the nuclear program, and if in fact there is a problem between Israel and Iran and the Middle East blows up, that's going to have a huge impact on us.
Is it going to...
But you know, this is the problem, isn't it? Because in the Middle East, the Americans have gone into Afghanistan. It's tribal.
Yeah.
Everywhere they've gone in, they've pulled out, but it hasn't resolved the problem.
Yeah. So why would they do it again?
Why would they do it again? Exactly, Jay. I mean, and it's all tribal. We go in there, we do what we've got to do, but at the end of the day, we don't understand how it all works. And they get back to their old habits again. So I think Romney missed out. Actually, the statistics are that Obama went ahead 48-40, but it's still very close to call. And I think it depends on about 9 states, because there's some swinging states as to what's going to happen.
Well, what was the figures last time?
It's going to be a racial.
I mean, it was pretty close last time, right?
45-40, so it's actually 45-41, something like that, yeah?
Is the racial card going to be played in this U.S. presidential elections?
But how would I mean, there's no direct... Okay, so there might be there's a chance that they might start another war in the Middle East, but apart from that, small issue...
the economy.
I think Romney...
How would it affect us?
Romney's not
they're not going to send aircraft carriers to R&R in Pattaya anymore, or what?
Romney's not China-friendly.
He's not
China-friendly. So he could send more aircraft carriers to Pattaya.
Don't they say that he has a lot of investments in China? Wasn't that? I think he's very friendly, isn't he?
No, he's not.
This could all be just, for the elections, but when he actually gets into power, whatever policy changes will be minimal.
In reality,
I'm not really following these U.S. elections anyway. I mean, I'm not really interested in it, in my opinion.
It depends also what happens. I mean, they're trying to pressure the Chinese on, devaluing the yuan. That's what Romney wants.
Okay.
Now, he's also concerned about trade and the exports and the tariffs and so on. So that issue could affect us, particularly when we're coming into the AEC, particularly when we're coming into the Asian Economic Community. We need to actually know exactly where China's going to be sitting. I think that's going to be an impact on us too, particularly our exporters.
Okay. Talking about the economy and export, so we talked about rice last week, 2 weeks actually, about the rice pledging scheme. So it's confirmed now, the exports from Thailand is now 30% less than it was last year.
Rice exports.
Yeah, rice exports. Okay. Rice exports. And we have dropped to the 3rd place in terms of the exporter for rice, behind China and behind India.
No,
were we the
behind
biggest?
Vietnam.
Oh, behind
Vietnam.
Were we number one?
We were
number one. Never ever been other than number one.
Right. So now we are number 3.
That's because we're stockpiling, right?
Yes, it is part of the reason for stockpiling.
Because we'll only sell at a value higher than the going rate.
But it's not only, I don't think it's only stockpiling, I think it's also the mentality of our rice industry. For example, if you go into Vietnam, if you go into India, they're doing about 3, 4 and sometimes 5 harvests a year. We say here in Thailand we can't do that much because the soil won't be good enough to produce the high quality rice that we need. So we're doing 2 or 3.
But we've always done that.
Yes, but what I'm saying is those that are going ahead of us are doing more, which gives them the potential to have more rice to sell.
Okay.
But, you know, we dropped down, there's 5.9 million tonnes for Vietnam, 5.6 for India, and we dropped down to 5.2. Having said that, at the end of the year, the pundits are still saying we're going to be up around 7.5 million tonnes. So whether that actually moves us up to the next level, and what happens with the rice in store...
Was that because they're planning to dump the rice on the market?
There were some concerns. I think
the Americans have given that
bodies in the US have said, you know, there's potential that Thailand will dump rice.
So it'll be dumping high quality rice then.
At a very cheap price.
Yeah.
But then in that case, they should dump it on the domestic market so we can get the value.
Okay, so enough on the rice. We have to go for break now, and when we come back, we'll see you after the break. Welcome back. We'll start off with the Men in Black, MIB rewards. Right now, the DSI is offering ₱1 million for information into 7 cases, unsolved cases during the 2010 riots. And some of these were attributed to the Men in Black. The red shirts have now come up and said they are all willing to double or triple the reward with their own money to get information to prove that they were not the ones responsible for this. And Jatupon, what's his surname? I can't remember his surname. One of the red shirt co-leaders has come forward with new evidence on the Men in Black, and he's now accusing the army as being the people behind the Men in Black.
Well, he's saying there are no Men in Black, right?
Well,
at first he said there were no
Men in Black. Now he's saying if there were Men in Black, it's the army. The army actually put the people there.
You're in black, so are you a woman in black?
I could have been, but I wasn't at that time.
Did you see any Men in Black?
Yes, I did. Would I recognise them again? Probably not, because their faces were not...
Well, they were wearing balaclavas,
They were balaclavas,
right?
anyway. But, I mean, if you went into the area of Chidlom, as you may recall, there's on that Klong and on the slight bridge, or slight hill, there were actually a truck across there that actually loaded later on...
This is in 2010.
2010. Okay. There were bombs in that van. Now, the Men in Black were all around that, walking backwards and forwards.
Yeah.
I'm sure someone's got photographs of it, but, you know, as you said earlier, Jay, when we talked privately about this, BBC's got footage, CNN's got footage. So to actually say, I don't think there were Men in Black is a nonsense.
Well, there's footage.
You're not colourblind for sure, right?
No, I mean...
Maybe they were in white. I'm not sure.
There's a clip on YouTube of a guy wearing all black and a black balaclava running out of a soy in Bunnag near my house. He comes out of a soy just adjacent to soy Nan Du Pli, which connects through to Saton Soy 1. And he runs out and you can hear him shooting. You can see him running out of an assault rifle.
I've seen that.
It's the Israeli Tavor assault rifle. You can see him running out. You catch a glimpse of him running out, and you can hear the gun firing, and you can see him running back. And you would have to say the direction he's firing in is probably down towards the corner of Saton and Wireless, where the army roadblocks were set up at that time.
So he was firing. This Man in Black on the footage was firing from a red shirt controlled area, so to speak, right? Not from the and firing.
Because I mean, in that area, Nan Du Pli down through to Soy 1, there were red shirt barricades
all the way down there.
And you know, there were so many stories
outside my house, and there were red shirts coming up and down there all the time.
And when you passed these barricades, you had to provide. Yourself, you
not
get
in
yourself
that
questioned.
area, no.
But certainly at Chidlom you did. Certainly at Chidlom. You had to walk through it at the beginning. Later on, you took your car through. They actually pulled everything out of your car to see what was in the car, what were you taking in. So, you know.
It was like you were going through a border crossing.
Yes, it was.
Yeah, so
although, actually, in a border crossing, they don't actually lift the carpet out of your car.
Right. But I mean, to say that the Democrat Party tried to fabricate the Men in Black story, and that they didn't exist, or they.
They're actually blaming Thaksin.
I mean, this is the rewriting of history in the process. I mean, if you say it enough times, you say it loud enough, and you generate enough PR on it, then pretty soon people are going to start questioning what they saw with their own eyes.
And the history will be written as others want it to be written, not as fact.
Yeah.
That's the issue, isn't it?
Yeah.
So the fact remains, there were men in black, for sure.
There were.
Yeah. We still don't know who they are, for sure.
Well,
but they did not appear to be...
Well, they have, I mean, they have pictures of them. They have, you know, the international news networks have footage of them
and
shooting
some without
guns
balaclavas
over a wall,
too.
shooting guns over a wall in broad daylight in Lumpini Park. There's pictures of at least one or two of them minus balaclavas, but in holding assault rifles.
Sure.
At the incident at the Cockwood intersection.
Yeah.
So, really, you want to like say that they didn't exist? I mean, come on, you know, just.
I think that's the annoying part about it. If it's everybody's blaming everybody else, that's
I mean,
acceptable.
if you want to say, if you want to have like truth
Mm.
and reconciliation, just say, okay, just stop
stop
trying to bend the truth. You know?
They were obviously armed. They were troublemakers. They were causing commotion.
They were directed by someone unknown.
Yeah, they were directed by someone, not yet clear who that is. And they seem to be operating from the areas controlled by the red shirts, who actually maintain pretty good security in their area. So, you know, to deny their existence is futile, actually.
It's a nonsense.
Yeah, it's nonsense.
Well, I mean, we can all say allegedly and I believe, and you know, so.
But at the end of the day, the history books will be rewritten as.
Yeah, I mean, the events took place. We were all living in the area when it happened, and we all saw the footage.
It's so easy to actually say, you know, it was military or army, but I'm pretty sure these people were military or army trained. They could be ex-military. They could be military because they were operating.
Well, there's all kinds of
weapons,
rumors.
right?
There's all kinds of rumors about where these guys came from. But I mean, clearly they had some form of
military
proper
training.
military
They were an elite
weapons
force.
training.
They actually knew what to shoot at. They knew how to actually shoot where they were going to shoot. I mean, they weren't just people that had come in with a gun occasionally.
True.
They
so
obviously
just because they were military trained does not mean they are from the army.
But in fact, they may not have been military trained either. They could be trained by any group of experts in that particular field. I mean, we see that in the South all the time.
Okay.
It's not the army training those guys. There are some.
They're going to be mercenaries.
Exactly, it's got to be mercenaries. So you know, maybe they were imported from the South.
I don't think we can really speculate who they are. But the point is to say that they weren't there or they didn't exist.
That's insulting, isn't it?
That's crazy.
Yeah,
That's
they
crazy.
were there.
Yeah.
It's up to the DSI to find out where they're from, and hopefully the history books will be written as it
I
is.
don't think the DSI is going to find out where they're from.
You don't?
No, I don't think anyone's going to
Or
find
do you
out where
think
they're from.
they'll know
But
where they're from?
I just don't think that anyone should be denying that they were involved and that they were responsible for shooting soldiers.
Yeah,
okay?
true.
All right.
And they were. I mean, if you're not shooting at soldiers, soldiers aren't going to shoot back at you.
Exactly.
Okay? And if you're crazy enough to stand in a street and there's a army checkpoint down the road with young soldiers armed with live ammunition and weapons, and you start shooting homemade rockets at them and stuff, damned if you're not going to get shot back at with live ammunition, you know?
You don't stand there and say, oh, here I am. Yeah. You know, it's like you're going to fight for your own life.
Sure.
All right, let's move on to the next topic. A cop, actually a sergeant major in the traffic division, was actually stopped at a police checkpoint in the north, and he actually sneaked away, and they found 760 million baht street value of drugs in his car. 760 million baht. Right. Now, he was on the run for a couple of days, and then he actually finally surrendered. While he was on the run, they actually discovered that he had a lot of assets, way more than what
Did you see the picture of his cars?
Yes, indeed.
This is a sergeant major, you know.
Wow.
He's not even a fully commissioned officer. He's a non-commissioned officer. He's a traffic cop.
Okay.
Right. So now they caught him, and he admitted to doing drug runs, and he's done like 10 or...
For the last couple of years,
2 years?
He's been doing them for 2 years, and he's been earning about 2 million baht per delivery.
Per delivery.
2 million baht per delivery.
So that's how he gets his cars, Jay, yeah?
And he was brought into this business by an ex-police officer.
Okay.
All right, so...
So, what do you want to say?
Wow.
What do you want to say?
Oh, 760
we're
million
in the
baht.
wrong. We're in the wrong profession.
Exactly. Could be that.
Yeah.
I mean, I think the fact that we're out looking for people with drugs is important. We haven't been as active as I think we should have been in the past, but we need to get back to where we were a few years ago when the Prime Minister Thaksin was in power, where we actually went after these guys and we really went after them in a serious way. Obviously, it's a huge network. And there's got to be some more, you know, hard rules and, you know, this is, you face the death penalty or whatever it is. But at the moment it's just too easy because, you know, it's a look about the story about the rich dad. I've got a rich dad, I can get away with anything. It's like, I've got, you know, friends in the army, I've got friends at high places. Okay, I'll give myself up, but I can get away with it. What's going to happen to this cop? You think he's going to go to jail? I don't think so.
You don't think so?
I don't know.
I don't think so.
I think this
He'll go across the border.
I think this one's going to go down. I have a feeling.
Do you?
Yeah. I mean, if he's a, he's a police
sergeant major.
He's a sergeant major.
But there are other police involved because actually they're looking for another 6 members of the team, of which another one is a ex-police officer
who was fired because he was found to be involved in the illegal business. He was fired, you know. He was not charged. He was just fired from the police force. That's strange.
I mean, if he wasn't going to go down, would this story be? Would we know about this story?
But you know, it can get whitewashed so easily here, Joe. Really, you know. I mean, he should pay the price. But what is going to be the price? So many years in jail.
Yeah.
Think of all the lives that are being ruined as a result of these drugs being transported across here. We actually use them in Thailand. There are drug runners here, and it goes across into other countries too. So. It's the big picture we've got to look at. I know that this government is saying, well, we're going to do a lot more.
Yeah, I mean, you're a drug runner. I mean, he said that, I was not thinking when I ran away, but I'm not afraid of death. I believe police would not shoot at a fellow officer.
So that's what
and I didn't know where to hide. No, wait. I've told my wife and family about this, and I believe I'll receive fair treatment. So fair treatment for carrying that amount of drugs should be life in prison without parole.
It should be without parole at all, at best.
So, you know,
so that's fair treatment.
Jay,
not a death sentence, but life in prison.
By quoting what he said, means he was actually using his position as a police officer to get away with.
Yes, he was.
Or facilitating
you might think that going by what he's reading between the lines of what he's saying is that he believes that he deserves, you know, slightly better treatment because he's a police officer.
A tap on the wrist.
Unacceptable. Unacceptable. But it's going to be who he knows, who's behind it,
Let's
and
follow
who are the
up
big
on this
players
story
are.
to make sure that, you know, he gets what he should be getting and not get away with it too easily.
Hope not.
It's a lot of drugs.
A lot of drugs.
A lot of drugs. A lot of cars in his house. Now you know why there's so many. Oh, no, I shouldn't say that.
You know, he was actually very good.
What were you going to say?
He was actually very good. Apparently, his colleagues didn't notice that he was extra rich. You know, they said he was behaving normally, and he even took loans from the police.
Well, maybe he just kept the cars at home, and nobody knew he had them. Maybe he had a big wall around his house, and maybe he could have said, "Well, I've got other investments, and family has."
And the only thing we're seeing at the moment are the cars. You can wonder what else is, you know, whether it's land, whether there's properties. There's whole areas that they'll probably find, but I still believe he shouldn't be asking for fair treatment.
Yeah. Okay. We'll follow up on this topic next.
Well, he should be asking for fair treatment, but it should be the fair treatment that other drug runners...
Facts, yeah.
Other drug runners receive, not special fair treatment.
We're out of time. We have to go for a break. We'll see you after this. Welcome back, and we'll start off with the airline with no budget, PC Air. Their single plane, was actually prevented from taking off from Seoul, and 200 passengers in Seoul were stuck, and 200 passengers who were waiting for the plane to depart from Bangkok were also stuck. And did happen for a couple of days, and there's a big hoo-ha about PC Air. PC Air, if you remember, Jay, is the airline that actually
they employed
transgender
air hostess, air stewards, whatever you want to call them.
Transgender cabin crew.
Okay.
Could we ask first?
Do they still?
They have one plane.
Okay. But who owns PC Air? Who is PC Air? Because I think our expat viewers mightn't know who's behind this. I mean, it's a guy called Peter Chan.
Peter Chan, yes.
But
Peter
who's
Chan.
he?
PC. I have no information.
Singaporean or?
No, he's Thai. He actually has a Thai name.
Oh, does he?
He actually has a Thai name. So he's a Thai guy running an airline named after his.
So it's a charter airline.
Charter airline
business. They have one plane.
Let's start off. What they were going to do was go beyond that.
They couldn't pay their bills.
Yeah.
They couldn't pay their fuel
bill in Korea.
Ground bills, and the airport authorities prevented them from taking off.
They didn't refuel.
Yeah. And the passengers were actually flown back to Bangkok on other airlines.
They came back on Thai Airways, didn't
Yes, they did.
Yeah.
Okay. And then 200 people that had bought a package tour, presumably to Korea, weren't able to depart.
Correct.
Yeah. There's also a related case. There's a travel agency that's now being sued because by 90 passengers who were supposed to be on this trip to Korea as well. Now, so the cops are investigating this, and the Ministry of Transport has decided not to suspend the license of this airline for the reason that if they did that, this airline wouldn't have income.
Wouldn't be able to trade out of it.
Compensate their passengers.
Okay.
Yeah.
That sounds like improper logic to me.
Well, I mean, they've gone out of business. They can't afford to pay their bills. It says here that within 90 days, they're going to compensate all the affected parties. People were able to come back home.
They couldn't pay their fuel bills. They couldn't pay their on-ground expenses.
They couldn't pay the passengers what they needed to compensate them.
Are they paying their crew properly? Is their crew properly trained? And they getting properly rested? You know, so many questions come. An airline is not. It's not a taxi.
But you know, we've seen this happen
Well,
before with other brands.
It's not just a taxi. It requires
an air taxi.
It requires a properly trained crew to operate.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But you know,
I'm sure they have a properly trained crew, and you know they have the gimmicky crew thing.
You know, it brings into question their ability to operate a safe airline. Do you have confidence flying this airline now? If an airline that couldn't pay its fuel bills?
Well, I probably wouldn't be flying a charter air service on a package holiday to start with, particularly with a company that just has one plane, I think. I mean, normally when you go on holiday, you're going to go with Thai Airways or Singaporean Airways or whatever.
I guess
they try to avoid that if you can. Try to avoid that kind of setup.
They offered a cheap deal, right? So you got cheap packages. So that probably was the attraction. It was a 200-seater plane, and it was full apparently. 200 people in Korea, and 200 people in Bangkok.
200's a lot. It's quite a big plane.
It is a plane,
right?
yeah. But you know, I mean, the Boeings can take about, the 747s can take about 320. But I guess this is an Airbus. I don't know, but it's quite a number. But, you know, this same situation has occurred before.
That's right.
If you think of Orient Thai before, I mean, they had one plane, again, grounded in Korea because they couldn't pay a bill. And another plane was grounded in London a few years ago.
They had more than one plane.
Well, exactly. I think they had 3.
Right.
But they also used to do domestic.
The plane was grounded in London for mechanical issues.
Safety reasons. Yes, they wouldn't. The engineers wouldn't sign it off to fly.
So, you know, that's what I was trying to link. Now, you've got no money to pay this, and then, you know, does safety come into question?
Of course it does.
And the authorities that are monitoring the airlines or licensing these airlines, you know, are you doing your job?
No. Well, planes are very complicated machines, and weather patterns are also very complicated. Things can happen.
Not only are they complicated.
You don't normally get a warning.
Exactly.
Not only are they complicated, you know, you have to have appropriate rest time for crew so that the pilots remain alert. They're responsible for 200 passengers, blah, blah, blah. You know, when you have no budget, I think you basically say, oh, sorry, no breaks, quick, do double shift or things like that. Safety is a big issue, and I think they should be investigated from that aspect.
Well, I think also that the Transport Ministry need to have a relook and a rethink about how they're issuing licenses.
Yeah, is it too easy to license? Could we have a Valerie McKenzie Air next?
Definitely not.
Or Flow Air, perhaps.
Flow Air might be a good one. No. Flow House is big enough for you, Jane.
Okay, enough about the airlines. I'm definitely not going to be flying any of these charter airlines.
You'll fly with Thai without.
Should we move on?
Television.
Yeah, let's move on. Rallies. There's going to be a rally.
Moving to the rally, are we?
Yeah, on Sunday. On this Sunday, well, yeah, on Sunday. And a couple more events, and they're not sporting related at all, right? Apparently, a group of groups, a gathering of groups that are
led by one particular group.
Right, led by a general.
Yes.
Right, who is an ardent critic of Thaksin, and he's actually said that he will have a gathering at the Royal
So it's an anti-government rally.
It's an anti-government rally.
So it's a protest.
Right.
Okay.
They're protesting agast the
3 issues, in fact.
That the government's acting on behalf of someone else, corruption and...
overthrowing the monarchy. They're accused of wanting to overthrow the monarchy, turning a blind eye to corruption, and obviously to...
Right. They're doing it on the turf club. They're not doing it on the streets.
Right.
Okay. Now, the government is also organizing some public forums, so to speak, to actually tell their story about reconciliation.
Okay.
That's happening. This thing's happening, and The yellow shirts are organizing their own little rally.
Oh, there's a yellow shirt rally as well?
No, I think what's happening now is the yellow shirts, because they're saying that this new group has come about as a result of the yellow shirt movement. So a number of members of the yellow shirts are here too. And they're bringing in another 10 smaller groups to join them on the day.
Wow.
Okay.
Sounds pretty messy.
Well, you know, at the end of the day, they're going to be rallies, whether we like it or not. I think that the fact they're taking it to the turf club and off the streets is a plus. If they've got a rally and they've got to handle it, as long as we, you know, see justice done on both sides, that they're rallying, they're in control, and that the people surrounding them that are actually checking whether they're going to become violent or whatever.
Now, Deputy Prime Minister Chalerm, who is in charge of the public forums on the government side for the reconciliation forum, so to speak, actually met with this general, and there were pictures of them in the press sharing a glass of wine.
Okay.
You know. On the other side, we also see the police are getting ready to handle to do a better job with crowd control. Apparently, they have got much more newer equipment now and proper tear gas canisters, I have heard.
Well, if they're going to hold it inside the Royal Turf Club, okay, then it should be a peaceful event.
Exactly.
There shouldn't be any spillover into the streets because everyone has the right to protest. Okay.
It's where you do it and how you do it.
It's the manner in which you do it. As long as they're not doing a sit-down protest in front of Government House or in Rajprasong and blocking the street for months on end, then.
So these people are much more considerate than in that sense.
Well, we hope so.
Probably. I mean, maybe. Yeah. I mean, if they're going to protest, I mean, maybe they'll get more. Maybe they'll get more people to follow them because it's inside a stadium. You know,
it's not affecting anybody
else. It's a controlled
else.
environment. It's not affecting other members, innocent members of the public. There's probably little chance of violence. You can go there. Maybe there's going to be like some kind of night market set up with food and drinks and something. You can go there, do a bit of retail and a bit of F&B.
Well, we have seen, just about 3 weeks ago when some reds and some yellows gathered in front of a courthouse and there was clashes. So there are always elements who are trying to stir up trouble, even though the intentions of the organizers.
Well, by doing it inside the turf club, they're probably saying, well, look, we're going to have a peaceful demonstration, a peaceful gathering, so no need to worry about violence or getting beaten up or get someone hitting you over the head with a stick, you know, or scratching your car.
What are they trying to achieve here by having this in a turf club? It seems so controlled. It seems so.
Well, yeah, but
that's good, actually.
It's a meeting of minds.
It's a meeting of those people that have the same vision for the country.
I mean, would you rather they did that, or would you rather they blockaded Government House?
Or Rajapasong, or wherever it is.
Inconvenience
exactly, so that's why they're doing it in the turf club.
I think they're being responsible as we see it, and
it's a show of, I mean, you could say it's a show of force, or it's a way to say that, hey, you know, there are still people that actually care about how corrupt you may or may not be and what your intentions are. So people still need a forum to voice their opinions and get together and act, you know, in a communal fashion and demonstrate. I think.
Thailand has full-fledged democracy then, if you're able to do rallies.
Oh man, you're going the wrong way. No, you're going the wrong way there.
I don't know what you're trying to say. I mean, I think you're just, you know, trolling there.
No,
but I don't see what that's got to do with anything.
I think it's people having their opinion, coming together as a group to say, look, we need to address these issues. And if they address them in a particular manner that we can all benefit, that's good. If we're actually questioning the government, that's good.
Yeah.
That's what the opposition should be doing more of, but focusing on real issues. Because there are a lot of real issues out there.
So they're coming out because the opposition is not doing a good job?
I have no idea, and I wouldn't speculate on that, other than to say that there are many things, as we talked about last week, that are not being pursued.
Well, it's not the opposition's job to organise mass rallies.
No, I mean addressing the
issues.
Right? Yeah,
but Parliament, for instance.
Well, you can see the kind of job the opposition are doing, but there's always going to be special interest groups and people who are individuals or who feel that they have a voice or a reason to gather other people together. There's nothing wrong with that. You know, in a democracy, we should always have these checks and balance and the ability for people, common people, to get together. You know, the electorate to get together.
Definitely preferred over any violent protests, and you know, don't dress in black.
Well, it's not to say that it's not going to turn violent, or people aren't going to get beaten up when they exit the stadium or on their way to the stadium, or there's not going to be a counter protest. But I mean, this kind of activity, people probably say, oh no, not another protest. But when you hear that it's inside a controlled environment, you think, okay.
I think they're being responsible.
Yeah, because there's nothing I hate more than seeing a protest taking place outside Lumpini Park on the corner by the statue. It's like, you know, just leave it alone.
Just go into a controlled area.
And, you know, do it somewhere else. And
then they march up to Ratchapasong.
Maybe in the new futsal stadium next time.
Maybe not too.
Way out there.
It's too far away.
Too far away, they won't go.
Okay, we have to go for a break now. When we come back, we'll talk about bicycles. Welcome back. This Sunday, Bangkok's going to have a lot of bicycles, 330 bicycles and 50 stations very soon, but starting off with two, one at Chamchuri Square and one at the Siam BTS station. The BMA is introducing cycling.
It's a bicycle rental scheme.
Bicycle rental. You have to be a member, and when you rent a bicycle, you can drop your bicycle off in any station. They're trying to encourage people to use bicycles to relieve congestion in the city center.
I think this is a scheme based on what they did in Paris, the Velib scheme, where you can pick up a bicycle anywhere, ride it for a minimal charge, and then you can plug it back into another station. It's also similar to the scheme that they've had in London, I think, for the last 3 years, Boris Bikes, which is sponsored by Barclays Bank, I think. Which is really, really successful, and it's really good. So this is it's a step in the right direction. It's not going to be perfect to start with, obviously.
It's going to take a long time.
But we've got to start somewhere.
It's going to take a while, but it's a step in the right direction. I mean, cycling is really popular now in Bangkok, and you know, we need to start doing this kind of thing to make us more modern, to help with the congestion, and to start changing people's attitudes towards transport.
You cycle around sometimes.
I do. I mean, I mean, admittedly enough, I live in inner Bangkok, in Sathorn, and I cycle occasionally to the Uchuling building and in that area. So I do
find it safe to cycle in this?
I have lights on the front, on the back. I have lights on my wheels. I always wear a helmet. I wear gloves.
What about in London? Do they wear helmets and gloves?
No.
Compulsory.
Some people do, though, don't they? It's the
people
individual.
do, but it's not. It's not compulsory. It's not law.
But in London, you've got bicycle lanes, Jay, right? In Paris, you've got bicycle lanes.
There are bicycle lanes in
London,
but
yes.
it's not something that you would say widespread.
It's only in part.
Bicycle lanes, okay, they're important, but I think more important is having more cyclists.
Why so?
Because then motorists get used to seeing cyclists on the road, and then they will interact with them differently. They'll start to respect the cyclists
instead of having one or two on the road where they ignore.
When they see, if they see, I mean, if you go to London now, you'll be amazed at the number of cyclists. Okay, and more cyclists on the road leads to less cycling deaths, because motorists and motorcyclists, they get used to seeing cyclists. They start to respect them, and they start to understand the behavioral pattern of a cyclist when they're on the road. But also, cycling education is important. I mean, you have to be, you know, when people are cycling, you have to be aware of what you can and can't do.
And what's the rules and regulations instead of jumping the lights and all this sort of
thing?
thing?
So these bicycles are going to be green in color, so they'll be easily to spot, I guess.
I don't know.
They're talking about green, but
I don't know. I mean, this is the first I've heard of it. I mean, I never knew that. I'm glad that this scheme is coming in. But it's again, I don't think I don't know whether it's been promoted
the details
properly
from what I know, it's
there was a small piece in the Bangkok Post about it. That's
you have to be a member. You have to pay 300 baht.
What do you pay 300 baht for membership?
To be a member,
for
and
what?
Then
for a year.
For
what?
I think it's a lifetime membership.
Really?
Probably,
okay.
To give you the right to rent bicycles, and the first 15 minutes of rental is actually free.
Yeah.
Right? And then it's 10 baht for the next 45 minutes.
45 minutes, and 100 baht for one whole day.
Yeah, 20 baht for the next 3 hours, then after that 100 baht for the whole day.
Yeah, the way it works in London, I think, because I signed up for it when I was there a couple of years ago, you sign up for it, you pay like £45 a year, which is 2,500 baht. Okay, and they send you a key, almost like a flash drive, which you plug into where the bicycle is hooked in.
To unlock the bicycle.
To unlock the bicycle, you take it out, So that the system then knows that you've got that bicycle, so you're responsible for that bicycle.
So your own code is on that flash drive.
Yeah, so it's an individual thing.
That's very neat.
Yeah. So if you damage that bike or if you fail to return it, then they will bill you for it because obviously they have your billing information.
So that's probably why membership is required.
Membership is required, and also if you have the bike for longer than 15 minutes, then they will bill you for that as well.
So they take it off your deposit?
I think the way it works in that scheme that I sign up for, I think it just gets basically it's like a direct debit thing. So if I keep the bicycle for 30 minutes, then it costs me £1 or something.
Right.
So but let's go back to the situation here. I mean, if they've got Chamchuri Sker into Siam,
that's the first.
I mean, that's a really heavily trafficked area.
Henry Dunant.
Going to be very difficult, I would have thought, to take bikes along there.
I mean, there might be cycle lanes.
I didn't see.
I imagine Jamboree Square to Siam Square backwards, and it's a two-way thing.
Yeah.
So it's probably initially it's going to be for students who are studying at
logical,
Chula, or who are studying at Jamboree,
or the private institutions.
So great, it's an easy way to get there. You can get off the SkyTrain.
And then take a bicycle
10 minutes up the road into Chulalongkorn, through Chulalongkorn. You don't have to be on the road.
In reality, I think the concept's great. We're following what others have done. It's nothing new
to the world.
It's
a fantastic concept.
It's going in the right direction.
Schemes like this.
It's a great concept, Jay, but you mentioned about London. People are cycling because it's expensive to drive into the city centre.
In London they have what they call congestion charge. So to enter Greater London now, or inner London, I think you have to pay £8.
£8,
that's a lot of money.
For a day, or between certain hours of the day. But also in central London, parking is very difficult. It's also very expensive.
Right. Parking is very difficult in Bangkok City. Sure. That's very cheap. And you can double park.
Okay.
And they even have special lots reserved for car-free days.
They do indeed.
Yeah, which is very weird.
Which is ridiculous.
Ridiculous.
Well, I mean, look, this plus improved mass transit, wider reaching mass transit, more trains on the BTS, longer carriages, whatever, more capacity, plus stuff like this. It's not going to be perfect when it starts. It's not going to have a huge uptake, but hopefully they'll stick with it. They'll invest in it. And, if they can do up to 50 stations around central Bangkok or anywhere, so that people can say, I'm not going to jump on the bus, I'm not even going to use the BTS, I'm not going to get in a taxi, I might even leave the car at home for a short journey, I'm going to try the bicycle, then that's great.
That's the intention, isn't it?
And then maybe there will be less cars, road users will be more considerate towards cyclists. Maybe in the future this will lead us into a situation where we're limiting the number of cars that enter downtown Bangkok.
Okay. Let's move on to our last topic. General madness. It's not the name of a general. It's not the name of a general. We have 1,600 generals in the military service. Apparently, that's a record. We are number 2 in the world with the most number of generals. The number 1 place, of course, goes to Cambodia, right? So we have 1,000.
This must be on percentage, though, of the number of people in the army, right?
Based on the number of people in the army, right? In proportion to the number of people. We have 400,000 people in the army, and we have 1,600 generals. It's a lot of generals, apparently. Why do we have so many generals?
Because we don't have a minimum retirement age, maybe, for army personnel.
Do we not have a minimum retirement age?
I don't know.
Oh, I think so. I think it's the same as the government service, 60.
Really?
I'm sure.
So
but having said that, I mean, this is all part of the process here in Thailand, that, you need to come up the ladder, you need to have the contacts to get up the ladder. And so when you get to a certain level, it's like being in the public service. They want you to go into a position for a period of time because you'll get to grade 10 and get a good retirement, salary out of it. Isn't it the same for the generals in the army?
What I've seen is, all army officers, commissioned officers, all graduate from a army school, right?
Yes.
And then they have class 10, class 11, the year of graduation. And when there's a promotion, the whole class gets promoted. The whole class gets promoted upwards, right? Apparently, if you serve enough time, like 12 years, you become a major. Your rank goes up based on the number of years that you actually serve. So what they're saying is people are being promoted to majors so fast that they need to have more generals on the top to balance the majors.
Look, at the end of the day, does it really matter other than what they're doing? If they're doing a job that is important to the management of the military in the areas they're operating, that's fine.
We have seen many generals who are involved in rallies. There's one we just talked about, a general who's involved in rally. I don't know.
But he's retired, actually.
Retired?
Yeah, he's retired.
We have so many active generals, and what do they do? Are they...
Well, they're in the army.
You don't know, what do they do? You know?
Well, they're in the army, that's what they do.
Exactly, and they probably
They're
got
saying too many people on the top, not enough foot soldiers to do the work.
Well, we have, what, 400,000 people in the armed services here, you said?
Yes.
And we have 1,200 generals.
1,600, no?
1,600, so I mean, that's still...
It's still, I think it's okay, you know?
300,
Really?
99...
What's the percentage ratio?
98,000...
But at the end of the day, it's what they're doing. It doesn't matter what you call them, it's what they're doing. If they're sitting in an office, sitting on their backside all day, doing nothing and...
Well, they're being generals.
But they're being generals. Now, what is a general's job?
Yeah. Well, get
I have
people
no
to
idea.
salute them, I don't know.
Yeah.
Ride in open jeeps
the armed
with
forces,
stars. Get
they're generals.
police escorts.
They do general stuff. They do important stuff, you know. They do
Which is, we don't
things.
know.
They probably, you know, check people's shoes and shiny.
Right.
And,
So
you know, whatever the general does. They're generals, you know.
So, you know...
I'm not going to argue with them.
Who's actually brought it up as an issue anyway?
Yeah.
Okay, the current defense minister actually has mentioned, raised this as an issue, and there was the report in the press, but apparently this was also raised many, many years ago by the previous administrations, that there were too many generals, but everyone was so afraid to make any changes.
The issue is that the minimum retirement age is too high, or the system, the sort of the culture of patronage means that, okay, so you've been there for 12 years, you get promoted, your whole class gets promoted. Maybe they need to look at the whole rank structure, the system by which they judge the way someone gets promoted through the ranks. So maybe it's not performance-based, then it's just based on time.
Based on time, based
length of
on
service,
relationships,
certainly relationships. Yeah.
So
doesn't sound very
who's
civilized.
Going to upset this apple cart? I wonder. Yeah.
What are the implications for it? Not me.
Yeah.
For me, it's honestly, I believe it's a non-issue, really, because I think that they've got a job to do. They know what their job is. Obviously, there are some that are doing nothing, but that's the same in any military anywhere in the world. You know, I don't think we're any different here. Our numbers might be higher, but what's the problem? I don't see it as a problem. I'd like to know what the Defence Minister thinks is the problem. That's a question we should ask, I think.
Yes.
I have no idea.
Adrian,
you need to ask the question to the Defence Minister.
So why is it a problem?
We'll see if we can get... Is that General Utisak to actually answer that question? Huh?
Okay, so, you know, our producer is signaling to us we are out of time. You can always catch us on Facebook, facebook.com/thetopics, and give us your feedback, opinions, suggestions for the next episode, and even catch up on our previous episodes. So, thank you, Jay.
Thank you, Adrian.
Glad that you are back to good health.
I'm back for good.
Valerie,
I think.
Okay.
Thank you, and we hope to see you again next week. Goodbye.